Okay. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् नमः श्रीशङ्करानन्द गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलासमहामोह ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे. So as we are discussing, yeah, it's a 2 weeks break. Obviously means that there is a lull in the activity, and that includes our thinking and doing mananam, contemplation, that is. But that's okay, it will come back. Yeah, so what we are looking at is the Shravanam aspect we are looking at, as we mentioned before. And what we have seen is the koshas, different koshas, because what the Shravanam meaning as per this particular book, Swamiji was telling us that it will be Pancha Kosha Vivek. So in order to understand the Panchakosha Viveka, what it means, initially the koshas have been described as to what makes up Annamaya Kosha, what makes up Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. So obviously Annamaya Kosha is made up of purely the food aspect, right from childhood, even before the birth. It is the food that the mother eats makes the physical body, that Annamaya Kosha, Sthula Sharira. That's what we are looking at. And Pranamaya Kosha, we agreed that it was created from Rajoguna, because Prana is something where it creates a sense of your being alive. And our being alive includes the action, includes movement. So that obviously requires the Rajoguna, and what we have seen is that Pranamaya Kosha is made up of Rajoguna, and it sustains all the 10 senses, 5 sense organs of knowledge and 5 sense organs of action. So this is made up of Rajoguna. Obviously, the first one, Annamaya Kosha, is made up of Tamoguna, because it's inert by nature. We all know that, and everyone's experience. Whenever somebody is said to have died, the Annamaya Kosha, it becomes Nirjiva without any life. And it is pretty clear that by itself Annamaya Kosha is inert by nature. It goes back into 5 elements very, very quickly. And what remains, what makes it as if it was alive for a period of time, what we agreed is this particular Pranamaya Kosha, which acts in that particular body, giving it certain physiological power to sustain certain physiological functions. Apana, prana, apana, vyana, samana, udana. And we think that the body is alive and I am that body. That is the normal sense that everybody will have. So if body is paining, I am getting the pain. So body is me is a very, very normal, natural thing for anybody to feel and think. Not only human beings, it is very sustainable. It's very, very clear for everybody. And what we said, Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha, they are made up of Sattva Guna. And last time a question came, if everything is Sattva Guna, how is that I am not 100% Sattva every time? What I mentioned was that it is made up of Sattva Guna. So it has got inherent ability to gain the knowledge. However, individual's mind, the software that operates, need not be Sattva Guna. It can be any one of them. So if you are more tamasic by nature, what it means is that the software operating that mind and intellect is made up of predominantly Tamoguna. It's not that some people are Tamoguna, some people are Sattva-guna, some people are Rajoguna. Everybody, every mind has got a capacity to reach its highest state of Sattva-guna, with which it is made. But unfortunately or fortunately, because of our nature of samsara, in which we dwell for over a period of many lifetimes, we forget, we tend to forget, and that is what we call it as ignorance or avidya. And we have seen in the last verse, last time when we have done verse 34, sorry, not verse 34, 34, 35, we have seen the other four koshas. In 36, Karana Sharira was discussed, and this is where we kind of stopped after introducing verse 37. Yeah. So in 36, we have seen that the causal body is made up of, causal body is the Karana Sharira, causal body or Karana Sharira, mainly made up of avidya. The causal body is something which is pretty difficult for a human mind to grasp. To cognize causal body is almost impossible because the mind itself is a product of that causal body. So it is the child of the causal body. So to know the cause for itself is very, very difficult. It's almost impossible. We can only with our mind try and perceive based on the effects the causal body has on the mind and intellect. That is what normally we look at from the sadhana perspective. So in Viveka Chudamani, if you say, very beautifully, Shankaracharya says that the mind is like something like a cloud. It covers the sun continuously when the clouds are very heavy, but it is the same clouds, by providing a small gap between them, allows you to see the sun as well. They are the reason for the covering, and they are also the reason for you, or the path for you, to slightly remove them, move them, and get the darshan of the sun. Similarly, this particular mind itself, Shankaracharya describes in Viveka Chudamani as the ignorance, total ignorance. So that is how Shankaracharya talks about this mind, really speaking. Anyway, Anandamaya Kosha, or the causal body, because it is beyond the grasp of the mind, it is very difficult for us to describe it. However, with the effects that we see in the intellect, mind, and subsequent layers of the creation, which we call as individual, we say that obviously I can describe Anandamaya Kosha, or the causal body, as total veiling, ignorance, avidya. Because of that, I am not able to grasp my true nature of my true self. So I can say that it is of nature of avidya, or the ignorance. Another way to look at causal body is because, as we mentioned, that there is some power which is making an individual mind made up of sattva-guna to operate at lower levels of either rajoguna, predominantly for jivas, or tamoguna. So either we are taking action or we are sleeping. One of them is happening throughout the days, and throughout the day, throughout the days, and throughout the years, we just go through this particular routine cycle of an action, and sleep, action, sleep. It appears to be like that if you are not introduced to this science, which we call as Advaita Vedanta. We tend to have that particular this one of only going through this. And another way to look at that particular thing is, as I mentioned, why I am operating in this samsara with a specific type of guna, either sattva guna, rajo guna, or tamo guna. And to explain that, we say karana sharira must be of having this something which we call as these inclinations, which is actually pushing me. So when I wake up, immediately action is being there. And once I get tired, the sleep is coming in. So there is rajoguna, tamoguna. And sometimes, fortunate if we are, I am able to gain some knowledge. Knowledge of either secular field, like we go to college, gain knowledge in terms of the sciences and arts and other stuff, or it is the, if we are fortunate, the knowledge of the scriptures. Either way, there is a tendency to gain knowledge as well, which means sattva guna sometimes come for our help as well in this particular way we are operating. So in based on that, we say that that Karana Sharira or Anandamaya Kosha is of the nature of vasanas. But mainly what we understand after studying the way we function in this world is very, very clear once we gain even a little bit of this knowledge of Vedanta that we talk about. I come to know that although the koshas that we talked about, Pranamaya, right from Annamaya, right up to Anandamaya kosha, the Shastras are telling that they are not the true self, but somehow always, even without being taught, right from childhood, a child automatically gains that knowledge that these koshas are me. Means what? That me aspect which is there, the consciousness aspect is which is there, is permeating all these koshas through and through. Absolutely no corner is left. Meaning what? Even at the far end of my little finger, if some pin gets poked or a thorn gets poked, I come to know that there is something happening with my body. So the consciousness is there at every nook and corner of what I call as the grossest of these layers of existence, Annamaya Kosha as well. And hence I conclude wrongly that these layers are me. So what the word that is used, and this you will come to, we come across this in other texts as well, and that is called Tadapyam. That is the word that in verse 36, the Swamiji has used this. Tatto koshaistu tadatmya atma tattan manobhave. Means that Tadapyam word is used in, is bringing from, is brought about from the other texts of Shankaracharya as well, wherein the koshas are felt, falsely felt as the self. And that particular conclusion is referred to as Tadapyam. Yeah. And I also mentioned, unless these two are mixed together in that proportion, no action is possible. Means without the consciousness, the inert layers cannot function. So no action is possible. And without the inert layers, consciousness by itself cannot take any action in this world. So if my consciousness is not there, if a person is in coma, he is just lying on the bed, absolutely no action is possible from even even that perspective. If you see, no action is possible. So what we are looking at is that particular aspect, that these two are, unless they come together, no action is possible, and Jivatvam, as we know, is not possible in this realm of existence that we are talking about. And this particular aspect is referred to as tanmayatvam. So these two words we discussed in the last class. Tadapyam is a wrong conclusion that koshas are me. And that happens because of our everyday experience. Yeah, tadapyam is something which is, and this happens because of the ignorance, is what Shastras and Shankara keep on repeating to us. Now, what we require as this particular analysis that we are talking about Shravanam is that this mix-up that we are currently taking as me, and Shastras are using the word tadapyam to tell you that conclusion is wrong. What is the tool that is given here? He says that it is called Panchakosha Viveka. You somehow require to separate koshas from the consciousness, and separation that we talk about is not physical, but it is purely an intellectual understanding that one requires to put in. First you bring in that intellectual understanding, and through a continuous contemplation on the nature of that consciousness, which apparently appears to be mixed with koshas, but it is physically nothing to do with these koshas, is how the sadhana will continue. Yeah? So that is what we will be looking at. And verse 37, I think we read this, but I will read this once again and we will continue from here. Yeah. Anvaya vyatirekabhyam panchakosha vivekatah swatmanam tata uddhrutya param brahma prapadyate. Anvayavyatirekabhyam panchakosha vivekatah swatmanam tata uddhrutya param brahma prapadyate. So what we are told here in this particular verse is that this particular Supreme Brahman, that consciousness is nothing but the Supreme Brahman, yeah, Param Brahma. Supreme Brahman, when we call, it is in the term that is used in this verse is Param Brahma. How that Param Brahma is recognized or realized is through a technique which is used by almost all Upanishads. All the Upanishads who, which actually refers to Brahman, the knowledge, use what is called is this Anvaya Vyatireka. Anvaya Vyatireka, the method, Anvaya means presence, incessant present, continuous presence, and Vyatireka is the absence, what we have seen. And we will apply this technique in order to understand this Panchakosha Viveka with respect to the 5 koshas. That is what the verse is telling. So, Swa Atmanam. Swa Atma, again, Atma means itself self. Swa Atma is myself. The idea is that because I am taking these koshas as self, apparently I am also distant from the self in that sense. Yeah, by ignorance. This actually some people use, Swami Dayananda Saraswati used to tell this, and even Gurudev used to use this example. I'm sure it came from Gurudev only. It is like a good actor, yeah, in the movies. One who is there, Amitabh Bachchan, somebody like that. When you see him acting on the screen, whatever the role that he is playing, he breathes life into that character. These are some of the terms that we used to listen when any actor's ability is described on the screen. So whatever the character that he plays in the movie, he is such a wonderful actor that it appears as if there is no difference between Amitabh Bachchan and whatever Coolie number 1. If you take that, for example, completely appears like a railway porter, for example. yeah, or a Don, whatever character that he plays, absolutely no difference in terms of this. Some of the good actors, they say, while the scene is being played, they are so much immersed into that particular character. Sometimes it is somebody should come and literally hit them physically to bring them out of that character. Yeah. So here it is not ignorance per se, but that aspect that makes you completely forget who your real nature is and completely immersed in this acting that you are doing, then some guru should come and slap you and wake you out of this particular character actor that you are currently playing in the on the stage, yeah, whatever that drama is happening. So here, that discrimination that we are talking about is that discrimination wherein I completely forgot my true nature. So, and if I'm playing a role of a beggar in the drama on the stage, and I completely got immersed, completely forgot that I am a multimillionaire in my real life, my pain that I am going through as the beggar, because I am the top class actor, is very, very sincere, very, very real for the person who completely forgot their true nature and acting as a beggar. What is the truth? Truth is, by accepting the role of the beggar, actually the multimillionaire has become a bit more richer. But what is he experiencing on the stage? That he has lost all his money and he is begging on the streets. As far as that drama is concerned, I am completely immersed. So we require similarly that immersion that we talk about in the role is the tadapyam. Due to tadapyam, I am thinking I am these uh, inert layers as myself. So here the term used is swa atmanam. Swa atmanam discrimination that I require to make from panchakosha. What will I gain by doing that? I will be gaining Uddritaha, having raised Param Brahma Prapadyate. The Param Brahma means that nature, my true nature is that of Supreme Brahman, is the knowledge that I will be gaining in this through this particular aspect, or the through this method of Anvaya Vyatireka. That is what it is going to say. Now, to understand this Anvaya Vyatireka, Anvaya, as I mentioned, is that incessant present, continuously present. No break in that as far as our experience is concerned. That particular aspect is called Anvaya, and Vyatireka is completely absent, being completely absent experientially after being experienced for a period of time. Means what? I am thinking that, for example, a person is having a problem with the retention of the hair. Yeah, and hair, every person actually loses most of it anyway. Once that in the younger days, I have got a thick hair and uh, things like that. Yeah, but once I grow up, the hair naturally becomes thin, naturally goes beyond the forehead, becomes bigger, etc. Over a period of time, I realized that hair, although defined me at the time when I was younger, is not really my intrinsic nature, intrinsic part. I continue to exist whether my hair is there or not. Similarly, my nails, they continuously grow, but once I take off the nails with a nail cutter, I continue to exist. So nails don't become part of me in terms of my existence. Teeth, for example, not only human beings, this is applicable to even tigers, so this one, etc., wherein they define the teeth and the nails of a tiger define the tiger in terms of what they can kill, what they can hunt, etc., etc. They become part of the definition of the tiger to a great extent. But tigers will survive even after they become old and the teeth drop, the nails go, but still by definition, the tigerness will not disappear just because the fangs, one of them are broken in accident or the nails are broken in the accident, etc. As long as they are there, they appear to be part of the definition of the tiger. But as we move forward, we recognize and realize that with or without them, the tigerness of the tiger survives. Yeah. Similarly, a brown muddy water may appear to be one with the water. The mud or the impurities that are there in the water may appear to be one with the water for a period of time. But once you start filtering, for example, depending upon the nature of the filter, you can continue to use a finer filter like microfilters and take out the inconsistencies in the water. Then you recognize that although initially the mud and the water appear to be one and the same, but mud is not an intrinsic substance which defines water. Water will continue to survive even after you filter out the mud associated with the water. Yeah. So in this particular case, what happens? Water remains the anvaya, continuously present throughout the experiences, and the mud becomes the vyatireka. Means absence of mud, once the filtration happens, becomes the vyatireka. But water continues to be there, irrespective of whether mud is there or not there. Yeah. And the filter is used in this particular case where the Panchakosha Viveka will be done moving forward. This particular thing, what we are referring to is the reasoning. Yeah. The reasoning is the filter or the tool that we should use in terms of having a similar understanding of the nature of the consciousness vis-a-vis the 5 koshas. Yeah. And this is what we people call as Pancha Kosha Vivek. So in the next few verses, we will see that the Swamiji will use certain words, yeah, to experience the existence or the consciousness that we talk about, or awareness. Any one of them you can take the words. They're all synonyms basically. The words that he uses are bhane. Bhane means shining. Yeah. So consciousness appears to be shining. So a word, if bhane comes, that means we are referring to the existence or the awareness. Yeah. Anvaya, anuvrutti, and pratiti. Pratiti is one which is coming into existence is pratit, for example. So these are some of the synonyms you will find in the verses following. And all of them actually mean only one thing, which is called existence. Bhane, anvayaha, anuvrutti, and pratiti. And non-existence, obviously, abhane. Bhane means shining, abhane, not shining. Yeah. And yatireka, anvaya vyatireka, we have already seen. Vyavrittihi. Vyavritti is another term which is used. And apratiti. Pratiti and apratiti. So these are some of the words that you will find across in the next few verses. All of them mean exactly the same, either existence and non-existence. Okay, so what we are looking at here, the verse by telling Tadapyam indicates that there are two things. One is consciousness, other is the layer, inert layer or the sheath. And these two things are inseparably together in terms of our experience. Yeah, two things are inseparably together. But after some time, during our own experiences, we come to, once we analyze, we come to know that these two are also experienced separately. Means one is continued to be experienced, whereas the other aspect is not experienced. Yeah? We will see what that is by moving forward. Yeah. This is more like, you know, what they say, this Anvaya Vyatireka. In our democracy, we have a federal government. Yeah? Federal government, prime minister has got certain powers. And some central government employee posted in some nook and corner of the country, whom we can call as collector or governor or whatever the words that we use, happen to exhibit certain powers, which apparently appears to be the powers of the person who is sitting there. A governor sitting in the far corner of the country, he collects taxes, he collects, he does certain things, he has the ability to recruit some people, make sure that the government money is reached to them. So many powers apparently seem to be that of that particular position, although located far away from the central government, which is sitting in Ottawa. However, once the government falls, if it is a political position that is there at the end of it, we come to know that the powers that are being exercised in this far nook of the corner really are not that of that particular person, but it is a borrowed power that comes from the prime minister. They make the law and somebody sitting in the nook and corner will execute them. While executing, it appears that the power belongs to that particular person. We also say that it is power of the governor to do this, responsibility of the governor to do this. Yeah, he has got that power. Why he is not exercising? All this will come into picture. But really speaking, that power doesn't belong to that governor, but it comes from the prime minister who has made that particular law. Tomorrow things may change and no longer that power will be vested with any employee who is sitting anywhere else, because his power is a borrowed power that we are talking about. Yeah. Anyway, so we will go to verse 38, but any questions here? Okay. So verse 38, please. Yeah. Abhane sthula dehasya swapne yadbhanamatmanah so anvayo vyatirekastha bhane anyanavabhasanam. Abhane sthula dehasya swapne yadbhanamatmanah so anvayo vyatirekastvad bhane anyanavabhasanam. Anya anavabhasanam. The last words that we have seen is anya anavabhasanam, means non-perception of the other body. Anyway, we'll come from the beginning. Abhani, as I mentioned, indicates the non-perception, feeling of non-existence, non-experience. Abhani, sthula dehasya, the gross body of that of sthula deha, gross body. Swapne, in the dream. Yad bhanam, that consciousness, atmanaha, of the self. Sa anvaya, that is the presence. Yeah? And or anvaya, vyatirekaha, that is the absence or the vyatireka, tad bhane, even as the self is present, anya avabhas, non-perception of the other body. So it may sound, when we see this word to word meaning, that may not make much sense. But what it is trying to say is, Swapne, in the dream state, one does not have the perception of the gross body. The Sthula Sharira, that perception is completely absent in your dream state. But presence or the presence of the self is there. That I am present is very, very clear even in your dream state. What you are dropping there is the current physical body which you are experiencing in your waking state. Before you go to sleep and before you go into the deep sleep, the dream state that we are talking about, the I feeling is very much there. I have no doubt about that, that I was present, and that's why I call them as my dreams. Why do I call my dreams? Because I am the one experiencing. The I feeling is absolutely there. What is missing is my perception of the gross body. Gross body is lying on the bed, it is lying. Now I may acquire a body in my dream state, which is much better than what is lying on the bed here. I am able to move much quicker. I may be flying as well in my dreams. Absolutely no problem in terms of, and I may go even to places where I have never visited, but only seen on the National Geographic. Yeah. The presence of the awareness here is called Anvaya. The continuous presence is called Anvaya. And at the same time, where the self is felt in the dream state, the absence of the gross body is referred to as Vyatireka. That is what the verse is telling. Now, it is pretty easy to say that, oh, this is what Anvaya Vyatireka is. Because logically, we are trying to see and separate my gross body, Annamaya Kosha, from the consciousness aspect. In the waking state, I don't have that choice, because as long as I am awake, body and consciousness, although even in the subtle mind, more body and consciousness are there, subtle body and the consciousness are there. But as far as my waking state is concerned, the physical body and the consciousness, they appear one and the same. Absolutely no difference in terms of this. And the only way I can intellectually drop is by extending my experience, because every day I experience in terms of waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state. The three states are always there. Everybody's experience, we do have that. So in the dream state, what the verse is telling is, physical body is not the real me. Like what I mentioned in those examples which we have given, the Sthula Shariram, what it is telling is not the intrinsic part of what I should be defining as me, the I, although experientially they appear to be one and the same. Why? Because in the dream state, I continue to exist and I don't have any understanding of my physical body, experience of my physical body. I am able to survive, and that I am not that which I can be without. Yeah, that is how we must be looking at. Means I am not that which I can be without. If I am able to survive, and in my experience, the physical body is not there, that means physical body doesn't become a intrinsic part of that definition of consciousness or the I feeling. That is how one must start contemplating during your meditation on trying to negate the feeling of I-ness or the self, which is continuously there. So logically, I am telling here, I am trying to conclude that by consciousness continuing in my dream state and my waking state, physical body, however, experienced in the waking state, no longer experienced in my dream state, I am concluding that physical body is not something which is intrinsic to my definition of the I, although experientially they appear to be one and the same. So this is the conclusion that I will be making. Means what? That Sthula Sharira is the Vyatireka, and the consciousness or the I feeling that I continue to have in my waking state and dream state is Anvaya. Yeah? What you may think, what is so great about this? The conclusion, the corollary of this conclusion is very, very heavy. If I conclude that the Sthula Sharira or the gross body is not me, that means when the death of the physical body happens, physical body is dropped, then it is not my death. The minus has got a chance to survive even though the physical body is dropping. That is the corollary of this particular conclusion I am making by using Anvaya Vyatireka, our own experience. We are telling, so intellectually I am concluding that I continue to exist whether my physical body is perceived or not perceived. I am able to survive. And my continuous experience in the dream state with a new physical body and completely new environment, different powers, etc., I'm able to sustain and survive. Yeah, this is the first way how the Sthula Sharira is taken out of the definition of I, myself. Is that clear? Any questions on that?
Shankarji, it is true that we are saying the body is not, but it's the body that you are meditating upon. It's through the body, which in the body we include intellectual aspect and also the mind, memory, etc. So through it's the true body that we are sitting and meditating. So it's a little bit difficult for me to understand.
Difficult to aspect. I agree with you. So here what we are talking is not meditation, but when you are in the sleep condition. When you are going to sleep, the body is dropped as far as your experience is concerned. But however, the I-ness will continue because once I come out of it, I am claiming that it is my dream. That is one. Second is you are telling it is through body I am gaining this experience of my mind and intellect. That's why the Shastras or the Upanishads keep on insisting that it is not through body you are getting, it is through Karana Sharira you are getting body and mind and intellect, and it is through mind and intellect you actually gain your body. Although experientially it appears as if I am this body and I through this body, because my brain, physical brain is there, my mind and intellect are surviving because of that.
So this Karan Sharira is just our vasanas.
Sorry, Karan Sharira is?
Our vasanas that brought us here again.
As I mentioned, many definitions are there. Your ignorance can be Karana Sharira. Your vasanas can be your Karana Sharira. Your gunas, the current gunas or the combination of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas is Karana Sharira. Your joy is Karana Sharira. Joy in terms of Priya, Moda, Pramoda. We have seen that already in the Anandamaya Kosha definition. So all these things are, and this Priya, Moda, Pramoda, they are not real bliss in terms of Atma's definition of bliss. This is only a reflection of that because of the avidya, because of the veiling, because of the ignorance. So all that is part of the definition of that Anandamaya Kosha or the Karana Sharira. And these vasanas, as you rightly point out, are the ones which are giving the giving birth, so to say, to the a particular type of intellect and the mind. Mohaniji, you are there?
Yes, I am there. I got it. Difficult to understand and then more difficult to follow.
Correct. So this actually requires manana. Obviously, what we are doing is only Shravanam. And why Upanishads take so much of pain to explain the Samashti coming first and from Samashti, Vyashti coming later, because our individual minds will not accept that easily because of our experience in this samsara for so many janmas, so many births. We got so much used to using mind and body, mind and intellect in a particular way, outward going. Now, how will I accept that it is not that I am different from this, but it is all a reflection of something which is a singular. Now, to bring in that aspect into our mind is what is sadhana. To say that I am not this body as an individual, it is only a reflection of that universal consciousness through all the bodies. A sun reflecting in million ponds will appear to be a sun in each of them. But individually, if I am not aware of, each of them will think that this pond has got lighted up with the sun. Really speaking, there is nothing, because your nature of this creation is such that reflection of the sun is possible. Why, if it is not a lake, if it is a earth, that reflection is not coming? Because that thing doesn't have that nature. Jiva, as a part of it, because it is made up of sattva guna and rajoguna, the subtle aspects of that have got the capacity to reflect this consciousness. And each of this consciousness start thinking, this inert layer starts thinking, I am conscious, I am conscious, I am conscious, and each appear to be different from each other. But really speaking, you are an inert layer where the reflection is falling. So where is the individuality? Where is your body? Now that is the contemplation one must start doing in your meditation. It will come. In this particular text, it will say as to what type of meditation, how we will go about doing it. Here we are only doing intellectually your own experience. You can arrive at that I can exist without physical body. In your dream, it is happening. I am experiencing in my own dream. So although in waking, it appears that it is just not possible, intellectually, I can separate them out by analyzing my dream experience. That is what it is. Requires contemplation, no doubt about it.
It's same way like we can live without so many things. So if we start from there, we can live without glasses on my eyes. Anyway, thank you.
There are some things we use as instruments. You don't need to throw them out, because that depends upon the inert layer that you have inherited.
Yeah.
So
Thank
that's
you.
okay. Okay. Verse 39 we will read. Linga bhane sushuptau syat atmano bhana manvayah vyatirekasthu tat bhane lingasya bhana muchyate. Linga bhane sushuptau syat atmano bhana manvayah vyatirekasthu tat bhane lingasya bhana muchyate. So, linga abhani. Linga, we have seen before, yeah. Subtle body is called sukshma sharira, and subtle body, we said, is also called linga sharira. Yeah, linga is anuman, means we can gain the experience of the consciousness first in our intellect and mind. Yeah, that is what that says. And more predominantly, we can easily understand that I am conscious. I automatically think that my consciousness comes from my intellect or the mind. So that's why it is called, the Sukshma Sharira is also called Linga Sharira. We have seen that. Yeah. So this Linga Abhani, that non-perception of your subtle body, Shushuptau. Shushupta is your deep sleep state. Sushupti Avastha. It's called Sushupti Avastha. Yeah. Dream world is we have seen already, and waking state. The two states, and now we are calling of Sushupti, which is nothing but the deep sleep state or Sushupti Avastha. Jagrada Avastha, Swapna Avastha, and Sushupti Avastha. So this Sushupti Avastha, deep sleep state, Syad Atmanoho, is of the self, Bhane, perception. So in your deep sleep state, the I feeling continues to exist. How do I know? Because when I'm sleeping, really nothing will be known to me. In my deep sleep, I am completely unaware of everything. That is the state which is called as deep sleep. If I continues to think that it is there, and if I can't say that I am experiencing this state of non-perception, then I won't be sleeping, really speaking. But once I get up, I'm pretty clear that I am the one who had a good night's sleep, or I am the one who did not have the good night's sleep. That means I must be present in my deep sleep. We have seen that in our early in this text itself, in verse 5 or 6, if I recollect, we did go through that already. Yeah. So Bhanam Anvaya, that continued presence of the self in the Sushupti Avastha from your dream state, from the Swapna Avastha, is the Anvaya, continued presence. And what is Yatirekaha? What is the absence that we are talking about? Tad Abhane, even while perceiving the self being present, Lingasya Abhanam. Lingasya means that Sukshma Sarira, or the subtle body, non-perception of that is said to be this particular Vyatireka. Where did it say? It said Uchyate, is said. Yeah, is Vyatireka. So the concept of thinking is exactly like what we have gone through in our deep sleep, where I concluded that I can exist without my physical body. Hence, physical body is not an intrinsic part of the definition of me, although my experience in waking state tells it differently. In my deep sleep state, in my Sushupti Avastha, similarly, the non-perception of the subtle body, the presence of the Anvaya, presence of the consciousness is Anvaya. Presence of the sense of self continuing in my dream state, and from waking to dream to my deep sleep is the Anvaya, and absence of the Linga Sharira or the subtle body is the Vyatireka. That is what the verse is telling. I hope every one of you remembers the definition of Sukshma Sharira or Linga Sharira. What we said was that that it is made up of 19 factors. In some texts, we say that it is made up of 17 factors. Yeah, we have seen that already. In the sense of 5 organs of knowledge, 5 organs of action, 5 pranas, manaha, mind, chitta, that is memory, buddhi, intellect, and ahankara, ego. So these 19 factors are the ones which is made up, this particular 19 are said to be the Sukshma Sarira. Now in our deep sleep, what it is telling, I continue to exist. However, none of them, what we describe as Sukshma Sarira now, all these 19 factors, they are not available for me for cognition. So the including ahankara, even the I-ness is not there in my deep sleep. I don't think in my deep sleep that I am the one sleeping. It is complete absence of experience, which is very clear to me only upon waking up, that I was the one who experienced that particular deep sleep, tells me that I was there, although at that particular stage when the deep sleep is going on, I may not be aware. But I-ness continue to exist in my deep sleep, but none of my Linga Sharira I am aware of. Everything got dropped. No mind, no intellect, no memory, no Ahankara, no five pranas, although some of the pranas are operating in the physical body to keep it alive. That happened even during my dream state, but I am not complete. I am completely unaware of the existence of them. Means what? I definition of that is there for in this particular case, the self, the Atma. That definition need not include the Linga Sharira because I continue to exist even without the requirement or cognition of these 19 factors which make up of the Linga Sharira. So the presence of the Atma or the self is the dream state that we are talking about. And in the current in the dream state, what happens? The physical body is not there, but the experience is that of both Karana Sharira and Linga Sharira or the Sukshma Sharira. Both of them actually are the reason for the dream state to exist. Why I am telling? Because in dream state, your prarabdha, you can actually experience and get rid of some of the negative prarabdha or positive prarabdha get expended during your deep sleep state. Similarly, the type of dreams you have are also governed by the vasanas. A deep level consciousness that is there deep inside you, those vasanas are responsible for the type of dreams you get as well. And it is pretty clear that both Karana Sharira and Linga Sharira are there during your deep sleep. In your dream state. Whereas in your deep sleep, what is happening is only the Karana Sharira is left behind in the form of complete ignorance. Yeah, complete ignorance. There is no Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna troubling you at that particular time. It is pure Tamo Guna which takes over in terms of complete rest that you take during your deep sleep. And Linga Sharira is completely gone. So the entire Sukshma Sharira that is dropped in the deep sleep becomes Vyatireka. Obviously, when your Linga Sharira is not there, your experience of physical body is not possible because that is the link. Yeah, the prana is the link between physical body to your Sukshma Sharira, so to say. So the continued presence of Chaitanyam qualified by the accents of your Linga Sharira is Anvaya, and absence of Linga Sharira qualified by the presence of consciousness is Vyatirek in this particular case. Yeah? So I think the logic is pretty much same like what we use in your dream state, like your deep sleep now. Yeah, and in this particular case, two bodies, Sukshma Sharira as well as Sthula Sharira, they become incidental in your deep sleep state, and only the I consciousness continues to shine in your deep sleep or the Sushupti Avastha that one experiences during the deep sleep. So what is the conclusion of this? When we talk about this in the last time, when what we said in terms of a body, when the physical body is dropped, what we said is corollary of that, very important, is when a physical body drops, when I normally claim that I am dead, really speaking, the I-ness continues to exist or can exist even though the physical body is getting dropped. Other people may say you died, but you continue to exist, or there is a possibility that you can continue to exist just like you continue to exist when physical body is dropped on the bed and you continue to go around your business of the dream. Similarly, when the body drops at the time of death, it is not your death, you will continue. This is the reason why we talk about Punarjanma, etc., etc., apart from the physical confirmation we get from time to time about that particular phenomenon. Similarly, when we talk about this Sthula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira getting dropped in your deep sleep, the idea behind that, one must understand what is the corollary of that is that unless your mind and intellect and the memory and the ego, unless they are there, there is no, you cannot become a karta and bhokta, a doer and an enjoyer. And if I am able to drop my mind, intellect, ahankara and chitta, I don't have any of that particular linga sharira with me in the definition of I, means I can survive even if I am not a karta or a bhokta, enjoyer or the doer. Imagine in your daily life, in your waking state, and even in your dream state, unless you bring that kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam, no experience is there. Even a little bit of experience that we talked about, or experiences that I have, which defines me as a life, is not there. But here I am telling very important corollary of this particular conclusion is that kartrutvam bhoktrutvam doesn't form part of me. I can survive without being a karta, without being a bhokta. Very important concept one must mull on in terms of trying to understand the significance of your deep sleep. In your deep sleep, you exist, and your mind, continue, fourfold mind is not there, fourfold antakaranam is not there. That means that all you think as I am the karta, I am the bhokta, are one step below the so-called I-ness, which can exist without that particular feeling of being a doer or an enjoyer. Very important. Oh, already 9:47. Okay, we'll stop here. I will do the closing prayers and then we can take up verse 40 from the next class. Yeah. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay. Any further questions from anybody or any questions at all?
Shankarji, I was just going to ask one thing really quickly because I do have to leave. I was just going to ask you, like you said that we have to drop all those 19 things when we are in sleep,
Deep sleep.
right?
Correct.
But when we get up, then why does the memory come back? Because we remember like very vividly whatever happened.
Correct.
So if we have dropped it, that means we shouldn't really remember, right? Or am I wrong?
You are wrong in that sense because there is an individuality that continues to hold you. This particular concept was discussed during Viveka Chudamani. It's a very deep subject as such, but very shortly, if I may say, the vasanas are the ones actually which brings you back. And the vasanas, along with the gunas that are associated with the individual, when you are in deep sleep, actually, when you are in Karana Sharira, it is one Karana Sharira, merging with everything, Ishvara, really speaking. But this individual vasanas and the gunas, they actually bring you back into the same type of the mind and body till your prarabdha driving force is there. That driving force is the one which brings these things back into your same this one. And vasanas and that particular vasana and the two bodies. Physical body also is not gone. Similarly, your linga sharira is there. When I say drop, it doesn't mean that I completely dropped and went away somewhere. I did go into deep sleep, but I come back through the power of the vasanas. And that's why in Viveka Chudamani, this Shankara says, vasanas are at two levels. One is at the causal body, which is very subtle and sukshma, However, all your physical vasanas which are there at a physical level, they exist in your intellect. So he describes that in a detail in terms of how you come back. And as long as that prarabdha karma, that driving force is there, these vasanas are the ones which you bring back everything back into when you get.
So is that correct if I say that, or I mean, I think we've heard this thing before, like when your vasanas for that particular day are over, you get up in the morning, right?
Vasanas are not over, they are just inclinations. What is over is your desires which come out of that vasana. The thoughts may temporarily suspend. So this dropping is like suspension for a temporary period of time.
Okay, maybe I'll get into this next week because I do
Sure, sure.
have to run.
Do some
Because I have
memoir.
one or two other things that go along with this. Yeah, and I'll get into it next week.
Oh, send him an email.
Or I'll send you an email and maybe we can just discuss this thing.
Will do, will do.
All right, Hari
Thank
Om.
you. Venkat. Hari Om, Venkat.
Shankarji, would it be fair to say you mentioned that in deep sleep, tamoguna takes over, but gunas are all not there. It could be sattva as well because you're at peace. So I don't, in my mind, neither of the
I
three
think
are there.
that is pretty clear, Abhimaniji, as far as the deep sleep is concerned. It is tamoguna. It cannot be sattva. Sattva and rajas. Sattva in a way indicates your ability to gain knowledge. And in your deep sleep, you don't gain any knowledge. Rajas includes certain actions that you require to take. In deep sleep, you don't have that as well. So the experience of deep sleep is definitely only complete tamoguna. Ghani bhuta. Ghani bhuta means there is no space for anything else. It is so densely packed up tamoguna, they say, the deep sleep.
But
However, the I-ness will continue to have.
Isn't it also total peace?
Peace is actually absence of pain. In your real, this one, what is happening? Suppose you have a cut on your body. You are not able to sleep for a long time, but you manage to sleep for 2 hours. Pain has not gone anywhere. The cut has not gone anywhere. Once you wake up, everything comes back. Your pain also comes back.
Which is true.
But
Yeah.
in your deep sleep, that is complete peace that is there. That peace is not really any positive joy. It is absence of pain, absence of samsara is described as deep sleep.
But the absence of everything is bliss. You said.
A negative bliss. A negative bliss. Because what they say in when next verse, when you talk about that, next 2 verses, it will come back as to what a jnani feels. That is the real bliss. He need not go to sleep for gaining that same, this one, in terms of your peacefulness, but it is a positive peace of recognizing Brahman as yours. That is completely different from this bliss, although it is called, that's why it's called Anandamaya Kosha, but really it is not a bliss that we talk about, only negative connotations of absence of pain is temporarily you will suspend all your pains of samsara and you gain that so-called peace.
We may call it a temporary peace. Temporary bliss.
Temporary bliss, yeah, temporary bliss you can call it.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, during the dream state, anything that's it's just burning off vasanas because you're not forming the groove at that time to carry on. Like, you know, when you're awake, we can say that what we're doing, and if we really like it, we form a groove and we are not really burning it off. We're just creating more vasanas to carry on. But would you say that during dream state, whatever is experienced is burning off whatever vasanas they are?
Vasana again, remember it's only an inclination. So the type of dreams are driven by them in the background. Vasanas doesn't express themselves in your intellect and mind as vasanas. They reflect them as only a desire and thought.
So would those
And
be
this
burnt
is
off? Would the desire, the thought, the desire be burnt off during dream state?
there is a desire, there is a thought, depending upon the thought with which you are sleeping, actually is the trigger for the particular dream you are getting. And that thought is existing only because of the vasana.
Yeah,
That is how it is taken.
but when we say we want to burn them off, I'm asking if during the dream state they're being burnt off, not that you're creating more.
There are two things actually. When you talk about burning, it is more of a papa punya that is burnt off, or your prarabdha with which you have come, which you require to burn, that is what is burnt. Whereas vasana is not really burnt, it is exhausted.
Yeah, well,
A
let's say,
particular
yeah.
vasana will give a particular type of desire, let us say, and you continuously engage in that particular desire for a long period of time, and I had enough of it, and I now go to a new inclination because I got fed up with this. So what you are doing, you are exhausting a vasana.
Yeah.
Burning of vasanas will happen only at the jnana time. At jnani, when he recognizes the world as mithya, the vasanas automatically will get burnt, so to say. Really, there is no burning required there, because you identify that entire concept that I'm working on means a good actor working as a beggar will recognize that my true nature is that of the actor who is a multimillionaire. Then this beggar thing, whatever vasanas we talk about in terms of that the samsara on that stage, completely drops. You may say that I exhausted vasanas, I burnt vasanas. Really, there is no vasana in terms of my beggary, of being a beggar, but I realize my true nature of being an actor. Think about it. That is how vasanas are never burned one by one. They are only exhausted by one, only to gain a new vasana. Once we say that, for this janma.
Yeah.
And
Okay. We'll talk more about this next week. I have to go. Indra needs
Sure.
to come here. Okay, thank you.
okay,
Hari
Thank
Om.
you, Shankarji.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om,
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om.